And I like to take my vacations, I always take a vacation in November, simply because it is right before the busy season of Advent where I'll end up hearing hundreds of confessions and going all over the diocese to do that. And so I like to take a little break. Plus it's cheaper here. It's cheaper at this time of year, so I can afford it a little bit better if I go in the middle of November. I will say this, that I've had two revelations on this vacation that I just took. The first is that there is a limit to the amount of bacon one man can eat in a week. I have tested the limits, and I think I was about 3 pieces shy of an entire pig. So I can't even think about bacon or look at it, but every morning for breakfast there were just piles of bacon, and I swore I tried to walk past it, not eat it, but somehow it would end up on my plate and then in my mouth. Anyway, the second thing is that I will say this, that I have looked into the gates of hell. And hell is the Miami International Airport, where I spent 7 hours yesterday in a layover before I could come here back to Columbus and to Marion. And that's one of the other reasons I got the plane ticket so cheap, was because I had this crazy, stupid layover that I had to do in Miami. And I sat there and I immediately walked in and realized there was something wrong here. I've never seen so many unhappy people in one place for so long. And it didn't matter if there was the person who was serving sandwiches, because I went and ordered a sandwich right away, and who doesn't love paying $4 for a croissant and 2 pieces of ham? You know, and the girl acted like I had just ruined her day, and she was, behind the counter. It didn't matter if you were the workers, the TSA, it didn't matter if you were the people passing through, the janitor. Everybody seemed to be in a terrible mood there. And I'm, of course, all chipper and everything and excited, as I usually am. And it was very stark and noticeable. And I thought to myself, what a terrible situation this is. Everybody seems so very unhappy, and they were traveling and going somewhere. And usually when I travel, when I encounter people in airports, they're very excited to go, but this was not the case. And the reason I bring this up is, it is a great vision of what hell is, because nobody wanted to talk to each other. Nobody wanted to interact. Everybody was in a bad mood. Everybody was an inconvenience to everybody else. And this, my dear friends, is a great image of what hell will be like. Now you see, today's gospel is about two things. It's about heaven and hell. And hell is something we don't like to talk about. It's something we don't like to even imagine, or even think that a God who loves us would permit something like hell to happen. But let me tell you something. We have a choice. And God gives us the free will to choose heaven or hell. And what hell is, according to C.S. Lewis, and according to God himself, is a total lack of relationship. It's complete isolation. It's what I saw in the airport yesterday, as people didn't care what was going on with anyone else. And in fact, it went a step farther to say that everyone else was an inconvenience to me. Not me personally, but them. I thought to myself, this is a great image of what C.S. Lewis tells us that hell is like. Hell, in the book The Great Divorce, is an always expanding city. And the reason why it's always expanding is that when people go to hell in C.S. Lewis's book, they don't want to live next to anybody. They don't want to see anybody. They go and they build their own house at the periphery, at the edge, at the frontier. And then when somebody else comes, they build it out even farther and even farther. So hell in C.S. Lewis's reckoning is an ever-expanding city, where people want to be alone, they choose to be isolated, they don't want to be around anyone else. And that is what hell is. It's not demons poking at us with sticks or fire. It is the burning fire of loneliness and total isolation that causes hell. On the other hand, what heaven is a complete and total absolute relationship. We don't talk about relationships in this term, in these terms, but what heaven is absolute total unity with God, absolute total unity with each other, absolute love of ourselves. And you see, that is the great reward that we have at the end when we have loved and we have chosen to follow the path that God has set for us. But my dear friends, heaven and hell are not simply places that we have to look forward to or have to fear in the next life. Heaven and hell begin here and now, in this place. Because there are people in this world who are alone and isolated, who choose to hide themselves from other people, who choose to take what God has given them and to hide it from themselves and from other people. To turn their backs for fear of being hurt, for fear of being rejected, because they are ashamed, because they feel guilty. They choose a life of total isolation. And other people are in hell not by their own choice, but because of an illness, because of abuse, because of addiction. But you see, my dear friends, heaven is also here. Heaven is here, and we hear about it in the gospel. And what heaven is that total unity and communion. It is that feeling we get. It is that fulfillment we understand when we have given ourselves to someone else. When we have risked it all. When we have put it on the line so that someone may benefit, so that someone else may be better, so that someone else may grow and be more like God. See, my dear friends, this is what the gospel is about today. The master gives the talents to his servants. And the first two servants, they go out and they risk it. They could have lost it all. It turns out that they won. It turns out that the risk panned out. But the third guy didn't even risk. He hid it away, and he was fearful, and he didn't trust the master or even really know his master. And when his master returned, he had nothing to show.